Imagine an entire family, a mother, a father, two young boys vanishing into the night. No witnesses, no goodbye, no trace, just gone. On a lonely stretch of road in Canada, known for swallowing people whole, the Jack family drove away one summer evening in 1989 and were never seen again. This is not just a mystery. This is the Highway of Tears. The Highway of Tears is not just a road. It is a place heavy with silence, shadows, and unanswered questions. Stretching across the wild, open lands of British Columbia, Canada, it looks peaceful at first glance. Tall trees, endless skies, and long stretches of empty highway. But behind that beauty is a dark truth. For decades, people have gone missing here. Many of them were young women, many were Indigenous, and too many were never found. In the summer of 1989, one case shocked the nation. It was not just one person who disappeared. It was an entire family. Ronald Jack, his wife Doreen, and their two little boys, Russell and Ryan. They were last seen leaving their home in Prince George after a mysterious phone call offering work. They were smiling, hopeful, and ready for a fresh start. Hours later, they were gone. No one saw them again. No one heard from them. Their truck was never found. Their belongings were never recovered. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed them whole. This is their story, a story of hope, danger, and a mystery that still haunts the Highway of Tears. We will walk through who they were, what happened that night, the investigation that followed, and the theories that try to explain the unexplainable. But before we step into the Jack family's final hours, we need to understand the place where they vanished. A road with a name that chills the heart. The Highway of Tears. Highway 16 cuts across the heart of northern British Columbia, Canada. On a map, it looks like a simple ribbon of asphalt stretching for hundreds of kilometers. In reality, it is one of the most isolated and haunting roads in the country. The land around it is wild and beautiful, thick forests, deep rivers, and mountains that seem to touch the clouds. But beauty here hides danger. This stretch of road has earned a chilling name, the Highway of Tears. Since the late 1960s, dozens of people, many of them young Indigenous women, have vanished or been found murdered along its route. The true number is uncertain because not every disappearance is officially recorded, and some families say their loved ones' cases were never fully investigated. The reasons for the danger are many. The road passes through remote communities where public transport is rare or non-existent. People often hitchhike to get to work, school, or visit family. Long distances between towns mean that if something goes wrong, help can be hours away. The dense wilderness can hide almost anything. A broken-down car, a lost traveler, or evidence of a crime. For the families of the missing, the Highway of Tears is more than a name. It is a wound that never heals. Memorial signs stand along the road, each one a reminder of a life cut short or a person who never came home. By the summer of 1989, the road's dark reputation was already known in the region. People warned each other to be careful, to avoid traveling alone, especially at night. But danger can come even when you think you are safe, even when you are with the people you love most. It was along this road and in the wilderness beyond it that the Jack family's trail would vanish. To understand how they ended up there, we need to know who they were, and why a late-night phone call would change their lives forever. Before they became the center of one of Canada's most haunting mysteries, the Jack family were simply a young couple raising their children in Prince George, British Columbia. Life wasn't easy, but they had each other, and that meant everything. Ronald Jack was 26 years old in 1989. Friends described him as hardworking and friendly, the kind of man who would lend a hand if you needed help. He had worked in logging before, and he knew the value of a steady job. Ronnie wanted to provide a better life for his family, and he was willing to take on tough work to make that happen. Doreen Jack was 26 as well. She was warm, caring, and devoted to her children. People remembered her as someone who could light up a room with her smile. She loved her boys deeply and wanted them to grow up safe and happy. Their sons, Russell 9 and Ryan 4, were full of energy and curiosity. Russell was old enough to help with small chores and look out for his younger brother. Ryan was still in that stage where everything felt like an adventure. Together, they were a close-knit family, bound by love and shared struggles. Money was tight. Ronnie had been doing odd jobs, but steady work was hard to find. The economy in northern British Columbia could be unpredictable, and logging jobs, though dangerous, were among the better-paying opportunities. So when a chance for both Ronnie and Doreen to work at a logging camp came up, it must have felt like a lifeline. They had no way of knowing that this opportunity would lead them into the heart of a mystery that has never been solved. On the night of August 1st, 1989, a phone call came that would change everything. A man Ronnie didn't seem to know well offered him a job, and not just for him, but for Doreen too. Good pay, housing, and work starting immediately. It sounded almost too good to be true. By the next morning, the Jack family would be gone. On the night of August 1st, 1989, the Jack family's modest home in Prince George was quiet until the phone rang. Ronnie answered. On the other end was a man offering him work at a logging camp in the nearby community of Cletwin. The job sounded almost perfect. Good pay, free housing, and, unusually, a position for Doreen as well, working in the camp's kitchen. The caller even said a ride would be arranged to pick them up that very night. Ronnie seemed convinced. He told a friend later that evening about the offer, mentioning that the man's name might have been Bob or Brian, though he wasn't certain. The friend thought it was odd. Most logging jobs didn't hire couples together, but Ronnie was eager. At 11:16 p.m., Ronnie called his parents. He explained the opportunity, said they'd be gone for about 10 days, and that they'd be back with money in their pockets. His father later recalled that Ronnie sounded upbeat, even excited. That was the last confirmed contact anyone had with the Jack family. The next morning, neighbors noticed their home was empty. The family's pickup truck was still in the driveway. Inside, nothing seemed disturbed, but the Jack family was gone. No one saw them leave. No one saw the vehicle that picked them up. Police would later determine that no such job offer existed. The logging camp described by the caller wasn't hiring, and in fact may not have even existed in the form described. Whoever made that call had lured the Jack family away under false pretenses. To this day, no trace of Ronnie, Doreen, Russell, or Ryan has ever been found. If you've been drawn into this mystery so far, take a moment to like this video. It helps more people discover the story of the Jack family. And if you know someone who's fascinated by unsolved cases, share this video with them. On the night of August 1st, 1989, the Jack family's modest home in Prince George was quiet, until the phone rang. Ronnie answered. On the other end was a man offering him work at a logging camp in the nearby community of Cletwin. The job sounded almost perfect. Good pay, free housing, and, unusually, a position for Doreen as well, working in the camp's kitchen. The caller even said a ride would be arranged to pick them up that very night. Ronnie seemed convinced. He told a friend later that evening about the offer, mentioning that the man's name might have been Bob or Brian, though he wasn't certain. The friend thought it was odd. Most logging jobs didn't hire couples together, but Ronnie was eager. At 11:16 p.m., Ronnie called his parents. He explained the opportunity, said they'd be gone for about 10 days and that they'd be back with money in their pockets. His father later recalled that Ronnie sounded upbeat, even excited. That was the last confirmed contact anyone had with the Jack family. The next morning, neighbors noticed their home was empty. The family's pickup truck was still in the driveway. Inside, nothing seemed disturbed, but the Jack family was gone. No one saw them leave. No one saw the vehicle that picked them up. Police would later determine that no such job offer existed. The logging camp described by the caller wasn't hiring, and in fact, may not have even existed in the form described. Whoever made that call had lured the Jack family away under false pretenses. To this day, no trace of Ronnie, Doreen, Russell, or Ryan has ever been found. When the Jack family failed to return after 10 days, concern turned to alarm. By mid-August 1989, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, had launched a full investigation. The search officers canvassed Prince George, interviewing friends, neighbors, and anyone who might have seen the family leave. Roadblocks were set up on highways leading out of the city. Helicopters scanned logging roads and remote areas. The RCMP even checked with logging companies across British Columbia. None had hired a couple matching Ronnie and Doreen's description. Despite these efforts, there was no sign of the Jacks, no vehicle description from witnesses, and no confirmed sightings after Ronnie's late-night phone call to his parents. Theories begin to emerge. The fake job lure. Investigators believed the job offer was a ruse to get the family to leave their home willingly. The caller's knowledge of Ronnie's need for work suggested he might have been someone in their wider social circle, or someone who had been watching them. Targeted abduction. Some theorized the family was targeted for a personal reason, perhaps a grudge or a debt. The fact that all four disappeared without a trace pointed to a planned operation, not a random crime. Connection to the Highway of Tears. Prince George sits near Highway 16, later dubbed the Highway of Tears, for the many indigenous women and girls who vanished along it. While the Jack family's case predates the term, some believe it could be linked to the same predator or network of predators operating in the region, organized crime or illegal work camps. Another theory suggests the family may have been taken to an illegal work site or remote location where they met with foul play. The total lack of physical evidence supports the idea they were moved far from populated areas quickly. Frustration and dead ends over the years. Tips trickled in. Alleged sightings, rumors, even confessions from unreliable sources. But none led to the family. The RCMP have kept the case open, and the Jack family's relatives have never stopped hoping for answers. The most chilling part? Whoever made that phone call has never been identified. The disappearance of the Jack family was not an isolated tragedy. It happened along a stretch of road that has become infamous for swallowing lives. Highway 16, later known as the Highway of Tears. This highway runs for more than 700 kilometers through northern British Columbia, connecting small towns and remote communities. For decades, it has been the backdrop to a series of disappearances and murders, many involving Indigenous women and girls. The official number of victims is disputed. Police records list dozens, but Indigenous groups and families believe the true number is far higher. The reasons for this grim history are complex. Isolation. Long distances between towns mean travelers can be alone for hours without seeing another vehicle. Lack of transportation. Many communities have no public transit, forcing people to hitchhike. Vulnerability. Those traveling alone, especially women, are at greater risk. Limited policing. Remote areas are harder to patrol, and crimes can go unnoticed for days. By the time the Jack family vanished in 1989, the pattern of disappearances was already emerging. But their case stood out, not just because they were a family of four, but because they were taken together in one night without a trace. For many in the region, the Jack family's disappearance became a symbol of the dangers lurking along Highway 16. It was a chilling reminder that the victims were not always lone travelers or hitchhikers. Sometimes, danger came right to your door. Community impact. The case deepened fear in northern British Columbia. Parents warned their children about strangers. People became more cautious about accepting rides or job offers. Indigenous communities, already grieving the loss of many daughters and sisters, saw the Jack family's case as part of a larger crisis, one that authorities were too slow to address. Media and advocacy. Over the years, the Highway of Tears has been the subject of documentaries, news investigations, and public campaigns. Families of the missing have marched, held vigils, and demanded better policing and transportation options. The Jack family's names are often spoken at these events, a reminder that the victims include men, women, and children. Why this case still matters. The Jack family's disappearance remains unsolved more than 3 decades later. No arrests, no confirmed suspects, no physical evidence. But their story continues to be told because it highlights the vulnerabilities that still exist today. The same road still runs through the same remote landscapes. The same risks remain for those who must travel it. The Highway of Tears is not just a place on a map. It is a warning, a wound, and a call for change. And the Jack family's story is one of its most haunting chapters. The disappearance of Doreen, Ronald, Russell, and Ryan Jack left a wound that has never healed. Not for their relatives, not for the community, and not for those who have followed the case for decades. A family frozen in time for the Jack family's loved ones, life split into two eras, before August 2nd, 1989, and after. Birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays became bittersweet markers of absence. Without answers, grief could never fully settle. It remained suspended, tangled with hope and dread. Photographs of the family, once casual snapshots, became sacred relics. They are still displayed at vigils and memorials, their smiles a reminder of the lives stolen in a single night. The relentless search. Over the years, relatives and advocates have refused to let the case fade into obscurity. They have worked with investigators whenever new leads emerged, spoken to media to keep the family's names in the public eye, joined Highway of Tears awareness campaigns, ensuring their story is part of the larger call for justice. Even when official investigations slowed, the family's supporters kept pushing, writing letters, organizing events, and sharing the case online. Symbol of a larger crisis. The Jack family's disappearance is often cited alongside other cases from the Highway of Tears and the broader crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people, MMIWG2S. Their story underscores that the victims are not statistics. They are families, communities, and futures cut short. For many advocates, the Jack family represents the urgency of systemic change. Better transportation options in remote areas, faster, more culturally sensitive police responses, long-term support for families of the missing, public memory and advocacy. In northern British Columbia, the Jack family's names are spoken at vigils, marches, and memorial walks. Candles are lit for them alongside dozens of others. Documentaries and investigative podcasts have revisited their case, introducing it to new generations and audiences far beyond Canada. The family's story has also inspired artists, writers, and filmmakers to create works that honor their memory and challenge the silence that often surrounds such disappearances. Why the search continues. For the people who loved them, the Jack family is not just a tragic headline from 1989. They are parents, children, siblings, and friends. The search continues because closure matters. Knowing what happened is essential for healing. Justice matters. Those responsible should be held accountable. Prevention matters. Telling their story may protect others. As one advocate put it, when we speak their names, we keep them alive. When we demand answers, we make it harder for the truth to stay buried. The disappearance of the Jack family has puzzled investigators, journalists, and amateur sleuths for more than 3 decades. With no confirmed sightings, no physical evidence, and no arrests, the case is a blank canvas, and that has allowed multiple theories to emerge. Below are the most persistent lines of thought, presented with caution. These are possibilities, not proven truths. 1. The job offer. Trap. What we know. On the night of August 1, 1989, Ronald Jack reportedly told a friend he had been offered work at a logging camp by a man he met at a pub. The job was said to include accommodations for his wife and children. The theory: the man offering the job may have been a predator using employment as bait. Once the family left with him, they could have been taken to a remote location where foul play occurred. Why it's plausible? Similar lures have been used in other missing persons cases. The offer conveniently explained why the whole family would leave together at night. Counterpoints: no confirmed identity for the man. No trace of the supposed logging camp was ever found. 2. Random act of violence. The theory: the family may have accepted a ride from someone they didn't know well and the encounter turned deadly. Why it's plausible: Highway 16 has a long history of opportunistic crimes against travelers. The family's disappearance fits the pattern of sudden, total vanishings seen in other Highway of Tears cases. Counterpoints: most random acts leave some trace. A vehicle sighting, a witness, or physical evidence. In this case, there was nothing. 3. Targeted attack. The theory: someone with a personal grievance against the family may have orchestrated their disappearance. Why it's plausible: a targeted crime could explain the precision and speed with which the family vanished. The lack of public leads might indicate the perpetrator was careful and familiar with the area. Counterpoints: no known disputes or enemies have been publicly linked to the Jacks. Police have never confirmed any suspects fitting this profile. 4. Multiple offenders, organized crime. The theory: the disappearance could have involved more than one person, possibly connected to organized criminal activity in the region. Why it's plausible: coordinating the abduction of 4 people without witnesses would be easier with multiple perpetrators. Remote northern BC has seen cases linked to illegal logging, drug trafficking, and other organized operations. Counterpoints: no direct evidence ties the Jack case to organized crime. Why the case remains unsolved: several factors have hindered progress. Time delay before the disappearance was reported. Sparse population and vast wilderness making searches difficult. Lack of physical evidence. No vehicle, no belongings, no remains. The unanswered questions: who was the man offering the logging job? Did the family ever leave Prince George that night? Was the disappearance connected to other Highway of Tears cases, or was it entirely separate? Could modern forensic technology, like DNA analysis or geospatial mapping, uncover new leads if evidence surfaced? The story of the Jack family is not just a cold case file gathering dust in a police archive. It is a wound that still aches in the hearts of those who knew them, and in the conscience of a country that has yet to find them. On the night of August 1st, 1989, they were simply a family chasing a promise, a job, a fresh start, a better life. By morning, they were gone, swallowed by the darkness of northern British Columbia, leaving behind only questions. For more than 3 decades, the silence has been deafening. No confirmed sightings, no arrests, no answers. Just the echo of their names at vigils, the flicker of candles in the cold night air, and the stubborn hope that someone, somewhere, still remembers. The Jack family's disappearance is not an isolated tragedy. It is part of a larger pattern, a web of loss that stretches along the Highway of Tears and beyond. It is a reminder that behind every headline is a life, a family, a story that deserves to be told in full. Why we tell this story now? Because time erases details, but it should never erase people. Because the longer a case goes unsolved, the easier it is for it to fade from public memory, and the harder it becomes to find the truth. Because justice delayed is still justice worth fighting for. Your role in this story: you may think you're just a viewer, but you are also a witness. Every time you share this story, you widen the circle of people who might hold a missing piece of the puzzle. Every time you speak their names, Doreen, Ronald, Russell, Ryan, you push back against the silence. Somewhere out there, someone knows what happened. Maybe they've stayed quiet out of fear. Maybe they think too much time has passed. But time doesn't erase truth. It only buries it deeper. And the more we talk, the more we dig. A final image: picture the Jack family as they were that last night. Together, hopeful, unaware of the danger ahead. That image is what we fight to protect for others. That image is why we keep telling their story. Doreen, Ronald, Russell, Ryan. 4 names, 4 lives. One mystery that has haunted this land for over 3 decades. Somewhere out there, the truth still exists. And maybe, just maybe, the right person hearing this story could bring it to light. If this story moved you, don't let it fade into the noise of the internet. Share it. Keep their names alive. Because the moment we stop speaking for the missing is the moment we let them be forgotten. If you want to hear more stories that deserve answers, subscribe and turn on notifications. That way, you'll be here when we uncover the next chapter in the fight for truth. And if you've watched this far, thank you. You're part of keeping their memory alive. In memory of the Jack family, 1989.